everyone, it's your favorite dance teacher, Miss Christina. Today we're going to talk about sewing our pointe shoes and the different ways to sew our pointe shoes, as well as I'm going to give a little tutorial on how I sew my shoes. So there are two ways to sew your pointe shoes. Typically I sew my pointe shoes differently than most dancers because of the way my foot fits into the shoe. So I'm going to sew my pointe shoes using two straps on one shoe instead of one strap. So what I do is I place my two straps in the back of the shoe and crisscross them to the front of the shoe in order to keep my foot from falling out. Typically, most dancers use one strap from the back of the shoe around to the back of the shoe in a loop around the ankle. But I'm not going to do that one in this video. I'm going to cover the way I do my pointe shoes in this video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do two videos. This will be part one of how to sew your pointe shoe, and then next week I will cover the other half because let's be realistic, no one wants to sit down and watch a 40-minute video of how to sew pointe shoes, right? That's not fun. So this week I'm going to cover how to sew the back of the shoe, which is the elastics to the shoe. I like to use the bun head stitch kit because for me, that makes my life easier. It comes with directions. That's how I learned. Thanks, Miss Maria. But that's how I was taught to use the bun head stitch kit. It makes my life easier. It makes my students' lives easier. That's just the way I enjoy doing it. You can use other materials. I choose not to. I like the stitch kit. So if you want to watch the tutorial, I'm going to move myself downstairs to my crafts table and I'm going to teach you how to sew pointe shoes. Okay, so first we're going to get started by looking at our materials. So we have our bun head stitch kit. Next, we're going to use our elastics, of course. Then we're going to need our ribbons. Obviously, you're going to need the pointe shoe. A lighter, but only for the parents to use. And a pair of scissors. So we're going to start off by putting together our stitch kit, right? So inside the stitch kit you should have thread, you should have 2 needles, and there's also a set of directions if this video isn't as great as I hope it is. So in the thread, you see there's a little loop, and there's also a little string. So you want to grab the loose string and pull it out, so then now you can use your thread. Yeah, so now your thread's loose. What you're going to do is you're going to stick that thread back in the kit. You're going to have to move the needles out of the way so the thread can fit back in. Take one needle out, and what you're going to do is you're going to take your thread, and there's a hole in the top of the lid. You're going to want to thread your thread through the hole. Then you're going to want to put that top right back on your kit. So there you can see the thread is through the hole of the kit. Good. So what you're going to do now is you're going to take out about an arm's length of thread through the top of the stitch kit, right? And what you're going to do now is you're going to want to thread your needle through the hole. So you see there's a hole at the top of the needle. You're going to want to thread your thread through the hole. So you see the top of this, it's like dental floss. So you want to pull that thread so then that way it cuts itself for you. And then you grab the two ends of the thread and we're going to tie them together to make a knot. And to do so, you're going to make a loop. You're going to thread the loose ends of the thread through the loop and pull it tight. There you go. You can see I made the knot. And you're going to repeat that same step just to ensure that when you start sewing your shoe, the knot doesn't pull through the shoe. Now you pull your needle all the way to the end. You're also going to cut the loose threads off the end so you still have the knot attached to the needle, but you just want to get rid of those loose ends. Good, so you're going to grab your point shoe now that your needle and thread are set up. You're going to kind of flip it inside out. You're going to grab your elastics, well, one of your elastic, and you see how there's a midline in the back of the shoe? You're going to place the elastic on a diagonal facing away from the midline. You can kind of see it here. See how it's in a diagonal away, and it's on one side of the midline of the shoe. Now you're going to take your needle and thread, and you're going to start threading through the elastic and the shoe. Good. So you want to try and keep the stitching that you're doing in between the satin and the cotton on the back of the shoe. So you can kind of see it there, how there's the satin and the cotton. You want to try your best to sew along that line. And you want to make sure that you're not making loops over top of the outside of the shoe. You want to make sure that you're going through the fabric one way and then back through the fabric the opposite direction. And if you ever run into a problem where you can't push the needle through, you can always use the back of the stitch kit to push the needle through like I just demonstrated. You can also use a thimble, but because I had the stitch kit, I used the stitch kit. You can see that all of my stitches kind of go in a line across the back of the shoe and across the front of the elastic, right? So you kind of want to try and keep your stitching going across in that same direction, in that same line. So now that we sewed it all the way across, we're going to make a knot. So you make a loop, you stick your needle through the loop, and you're going to pull that knot with your finger and your thumb all the way down towards the shoe. And once you get that knot down towards the shoe, you're going to let go of your thumb. See here, you're going to let go of your thumb. You're going to stick your thumb on the knot, and you're going to let go of your other finger and pull that knot tight. And you want to do that twice to make sure that you don't have to resew your elastics because you're not pulled through your shoe. So there you go, your loop, you pull it through, you make that knot tight down towards the shoe, let go of your thumb, Stick your thumb on the knot, let go of your finger, and pull it tight. There you go. You've got one elastic down, so now you're going to cut off the thread. Make sure you always tie your thread at the end, because if not, that's an easy way to lose a needle, and you don't want to do that. So you make your loop, stick the loose ends through the loop, pull it tight, and again, you do that twice. Now we're prepared to do the other elastic, yeah? But we're going to put that aside for now. And now you need to put your shoe on so we can measure how long the elastic needs to be. Good, so I've got my shoe on. I'm going to grab the elastic. I'm going to stretch it so it's just a little snug over to the opposite side of my foot, kind of where my arch is, and I'm going to cut that elastic. Good. So that's the first elastic. We're going to move on to doing the second one by repeating the same exact steps that we already did. We have our elastic. We're going to find the midline of the back of the shoe. We're going to angle that elastic away from the midline of the shoe. We're going to take our already pre-knotted needle, and we're going to try our best to sew along the line of the cotton and the satin. Now don't be discouraged if this doesn't come out perfect the first time around, right? Practice makes perfect. As dancers, we all should know that, right? We're pulling the needle through one side and out the other, and through the opposite side and out that side, right? So you're taking notice that I'm not looping over top of the shoe in order to sew through. Take notice that I'm following kind of following a line. It's not perfect, but nothing's ever perfect, right? Sometimes when you're sewing, the elastic can get in the way, so you just want to take your needle and pull that elastic through and pull your thread tight. Yep. We're using our stitch kit to push it through because sometimes it gets a little bit too difficult. So now that we're all done sewing that elastic on, let's make our knot. So we're going to make our loop. We're going to thread the needle through the loop, and we're going to pull that knot tight and down towards the shoe. See? From there, you're going to let go of your thumb, press it on the knot, let go of your finger, and pull it tight. And again, you're going to make sure you want to do that twice So you don't have to re-sew your point shoe if your knot falls through your shoe or pulls through your shoe. And once that's done, you just cut the thread. Again, make sure you pre-knot your needle, or pre-knot your thread so you don't lose your needle. So this is what the beginning of your elastic should look like. See how they're all in a straight line along the edge of the satin and the cotton? If you look on the inside, all of the stitches are very close to being in a straight line, although I did forget to cut a loose end. So that's what your finished product should look like. Well, not finished, but close to finished. Okay, now we're going to pull out our ribbons. So for me, I unstitched my point shoes so I can re-sew them for this video. So my ribbons are already cut to length, but there will be a video at the end of this that explains how you cut your ribbons, okay? So you can see that the satin of the ribbon frays. So what you do is you take your lighter and you burn the edges of your ribbons, and that actually keeps them from fraying. So this is where our parents get involved, right? So we get our parents to do this.